A video like this one could have easily been about me, but it really is about you. If you're an aspiring author or a creative person, I want you to watch this video because I'm using my own life experiences and the credentials and the prizes that I have gained so far to share the lessons with you about how you too can achieve success against all the odds. I know you want to watch this one. AuthorTube Newbie 2.0 tag was created by Jenna Streety, a really interesting author tuber in Los Angeles. And I've been watching her channel for about a few weeks now. Jenna, if you're watching this, thank you for creating this tag. There are some really good questions here and I can't wait to answer them. Teardrop Island is set during the last stages of the Sri Lankan Civil War. A 16-year-old Tamil girl sees her mother being killed by the Sri Lankan army. She gets on a path of revenge by joining a terrorist organization which grooms her to become a suicide bomber. Now that's the pitch. I need to give you some background information if you don't know much about the Sri Lankan Civil War. I spent the first 13 years of my life living in that island. The island is shaped like a teardrop, and the population right now is about 20 million. The majority of the population is Sinhalese. Now the war is between two ethnic groups, the Sinhalese and the Tamils. I belong to the minority group, the Tamils. Now the Sinhalese speak a language called Sinhala, and most of the Sinhalese people are Buddhist. And there are some Christians there as well. With the Tamils, most Tamils are Hindus, and there are some Christians as well. I'm a Christian. Now, this is a war of religion and languages and ethnicities. And what happened, and the war started in the 1970s and ended in 2009. My sister and I lived through this war. We spent 13 years of our lives there. And this novel is based partly on the things that we saw and heard and experienced. When Suzanne Collins was giving interviews to promote the Hunger Games, she has said that she did some research about child soldiers, and she might have studied the Sri Lankan Civil War because during that war, a lot of boys and girls were forced to become child soldiers and then suicide bombers. During the last stages of the Civil War in 2008, for example, every family living in a certain part of the Tamil Tiger-held area was forced to give up at least one child to become a child soldier. So in many ways, my protagonist is the real world version of Katniss Everdeen. And I'm trying to write this story through her mindset. My main goal with Teardrop Island and the other novels that I've already outlined is to tell the stories about this war from the point of view of children, because I know this war as a child. The same goes to my sister. And I know that I have met girls who are now women of my generation, and they lived through that war. And it's about telling their stories. I want to tell this story about the suffering of both sides. There were children on both sides of the conflict really suffered. So this is not about politics. It's about the human condition. I know that sounds pretentious. Samuel Durham is a really crazy guy. As a child, he saw too many things that no child would ever see. As a result, he is truly bonkers. He really believes in something that Graham Greene said, one of the greatest novelists of all time, he thinks. Graham Greene said that childhood is the credit balance of every novelist. And Samuel has had a really messed up childhood, which means that he thinks he can do anything. Because he survived that war, he thinks he's Superman. Samuel thinks he can write 5 novels per year, 5 feature films, 5 stage plays, and a lot more other stuff. And on top, one day become the Prime Minister of Britain. Yeah, he's that crazy. But I would say don't write him off, because 20 years ago, if somebody said to you, this multi-billionaire playboy called Donald Trump will become the president of the United States, you would think, oh, don't be silly. That will never happen. Well, we're all living in the Trump universe now. Believe it. So with Samuel, he's got a lot of crazy ideas, a lot of crazy ambitions. You never know. I usually write stage plays. For example, my third play, Taylor Swift's Dog, won a major prize for playwriting last year, and it went on a tour with sellout performances in London, Cheltenham and Buxton. That play is set in the world of literary agencies and editors, and it looks at three girls from three different demographic groups who were all influenced by the life of J.K. Rowling, especially Harry Potter. The play starts in June 1997 with the publication of the first Harry Potter novel, and then it ends in June 2018 with the 21st anniversary. And in between, the play looks at three important moments in publishing. And then, and it's mostly a story about this British Muslim girl called Yasmina. Yasmina is 18 years old, and she was born on the day of the UK publication of the first Harry Potter novel. And as she grows older, it is her destiny to become the next J.K. Rowling, and she's obsessed with that. And the play is about her, the obstacle that she faces, and the literary agents and the editors that she comes into contact. I'm using the strategy through satire to explore that rarefied and closed world of publishing. And I want to talk about that play because I think it's relevant to most people on AuthorTube and BookTube, because there is a part of me that's immersed in the worlds of young adult publishing. And I wanted to explore a lot of the issues there, and also publishing in general. Sir Kingsley Amis, one of my favorite English novelists, once said that if you really fancy yourself as a writer, you should be able to write a sermon, a hymn, a play, a novel, a screenplay, a TV show, anything. And I really believe in what Kingsley Amis said, because I don't want to place restrictions on myself and say, oh, I only do crime novels, or I only write stage plays. When I was writing, last year I was working on a science fiction novel. And that's when then I stopped to write Taylor Swift's Dog. Many other people have said, no, I'm a science fiction writer. I don't do plays. I didn't want to do that. If I did that, if I had the mindset, I wouldn't be here now. So I really believe that. My main goal with an AuthorTube channel is to make connections with other book lovers and authors all across the world. And why? Because I think one of my missions is to tell the stories of children who live in conflict zones. And in a small way, through this channel and the novels and the plays that I am writing, if I can somehow raise awareness about how children and their innocence is being spoiled or ruined, and how children are being brainwashed into becoming the next generation of terrorists and suicide bombers, I would be satisfied in a small way. Even as you're watching this video, there are many children in different parts of the world who are being brainwashed or groomed to becoming terrorists or suicide bombers. And I think in a small way, I know what it's like to live in that region. And I don't know what it's like to have a mindset which can be easily persuaded to carry a gun, or carry a bomb. So this is why I'm really passionate about trying to play my small role and to use my life experiences in a positive way. Charles Dickens in The Old Curiosity Shop talks about how the innocence of children, especially their confidence and simplicity, the two qualities that should be prized in children, they can be ruined by adults. So all my novels that I plan to write tackle that. Taylor Swift's Dog explored the difficulties the children, when they escape these war zones to tell the story, they themselves face obstacles. So ultimately what I want to do is use this channel to raise awareness, but at the same time I want to have a lot of fun as well, connecting with people from all over the world. When I was about 11 years old, a lot of things happened to our family which changed the course of our lives. I don't want to go into detail right here, but for a long list of reasons, my sister and I were put in an orphanage in a remote part of northern Sri Lanka, and we stayed there for a year. And during that time, what happened was that just outside the fence of this orphanage, the Tamil Tigers would send their boys, especially boys who were 13, 14, 15 years old, to try and get us, the younger boys, the 11-year-olds and the girls, to try and join their movement. And they would say all these great things. Now, as a child, I always wanted to have a toy gun. Right? I was a typical boy. I wanted to have toy guns and cars, and my father and mother would never buy me a toy gun. Instead, they bought me books. At the time, I used to sulk because all the other boys I knew had toy guns. But now when I look back, I realized that by giving me books, it saved my life in a small way. And in that orphanage, something interesting happened because all these older boys were coming to be just outside that fence to show us real guns, real machine guns. So I still remember going with the other boys just so I can touch a real gun. And I still remember holding a really heavy AK-47 machine gun, fully loaded, and how it weighed me down because I was a skinny boy. And there were other boys who were a lot older than me and a lot stronger. They were given the chance to be able to shoot that machine gun. And I grew up in this area where it felt quite glamorous to join this movement that I now see as terrorism, although I didn't see it as that way because we were told to believe that they're fighting for our own homeland, although the strategies that they were using of using children were immoral. I know that now. But back then, it seemed so amazing. So what happened was, even in this time, there was a missionary worker who was working in that orphanage called Miss Baker. Miss Baker was in her 50s, and she was the first white human being that I ever met. And she's from England, and she had abandoned her life in England to go to this conflict zone to help the children in the orphanage. And for my sister and I couldn't go to school for a long list of reasons, but the other kids did. So what happened was, in the afternoon, she will get my sister and me into her room. She had a tiny room, a really minimalist room. She didn't have many things in there, and she will teach us things. I didn't speak any English. She spoke a little bit of Tamil, and she would teach us 1 or 2 words every day. So gradually I knew about 20 words. I could say things like, my name is Samuel, I am 11 years old, basic phrases. So just before we left that orphanage, she took me aside and she said, even though I was 11 years old, she said, you're a man now. You have a responsibility. You've got to look after your sister. And she said, more importantly, when you go to England, you'll be lucky to get out of here. When you get there, learn lots of words in the English language so that one day you'll get to tell the stories of the people that you live with. At that time, I really didn't take that seriously. I was just lucky at the prospect of escaping that island. But when I came to England, I really fell in love with the sound of the English language that was being spoken by a lot of girls and boys in the English school. So I became obsessed with the idea of learning English. And then I heard a radio interview on BBC Radio where Sir Tom Stoppard said that his goal was to become more English than most English boys. He came to England as a boy, as a refugee from Eastern Europe, fleeing the Nazis, and he couldn't speak any English, and that was his mission. And I thought, I found a role model. I want to be just like Tom Stoppard. So I then immersed myself into a lot of books, and I had a lot of help from librarian and a lot of good English teachers, both at school and then later at university. And now I have other people helping me. So that was the goal. So the need or the desire to want to become a writer started with Miss Baker all those years, even though I had no idea what a writer did. But she planted the seeds of an idea that I am somehow have this mission to tell stories. And I can only do that by learning the English language and learning the fundamentals. And now I'm still learning it. One of my favorite books in this house is this big dictionary that I bought. I'm on a traditional publishing path. I want to bring 3 different types of content to AuthorTube. Firstly, I love making brand new tag videos. I spent over 4 years studying English literature. I already won a lot of prizes and awards for writing, and I want to use all those knowledge and skills to create tags that are fun. The second thing I want to do is I'm doing a series to do with the lessons that I learned by studying great authors. and success leaves clues. And so each week there will be a different author. I already done series on Hilary Mantel, Anne Patchett, Christopher Hitchens, and many others. So I'm going to be doing that. But the third and the most important thing is that I'm going to use the channel to share with you my journey to become a published author. So Teardrop Island is going through many different drafts at the moment. I'm changing a lot of things. So I'll be making videos about how that's going, and you get to see every month maybe about how I'm doing, and the whole process from literary agents to literary editors to publishing and marketing, the whole process. I'll be documenting it, I'll be chronicling it, and I'm giving it to you because I'm hoping that you can learn something from that, because I'm lucky enough to have these opportunities. So, my goal is to share the lessons I'm learning with you so that you can improve in your own publishing path. This bit up. Every single day, I get far too many ideas for novels, stage plays, screenplays, TV shows, and even if I live to be 120 years old, I probably won't get the chance or the time to write all of that. That's my biggest struggle. Plotting a story is one of the things that I fancy doing quite easily. I love coming up with a great structure and outlining the whole story. And once that's done, I can easily focus on other things. Andrew Stanton, who wrote the screenplays for Finding Nemo and Wall-E, he once said in an interview for The New Yorker that coming up with a great plot is easy. What's hard is all the other stuff to do with character and creating empathy. And that's something that I have to improve in a big way. But I'm confident that once I come up with a good plot, and I can do that quite quickly with any idea, then the rest is about all the other qualities such as drive, work ethic, and all that. And because I have too many ideas, it can be a challenge. How do you maintain your levels of confidence over a long periods of time when you're working on just one project? How do you do that? Newbie to AuthorTube, I'm still getting to know the landscape or the ecosystem of AuthorTube, this little niche. So I want to know lots of channels. Please recommend me channels and of AuthorTubers that you recommend. I'm interested in AuthorTubers who are really dedicated to learning the craft of storytelling and who have some credentials. In the comment section, put the links to those channels, because I would love to watch them and also cheerlead their work. I'm really excited at the prospect of sharing all the lessons I learned as an apprentice novelist. I have won prizes and scholarships in screenwriting, playwriting, and novel writing. Storytelling is storytelling. So there are so many strategies that I can discuss that you'll find useful. Some of the prizes that I won, for example, is the Sarah Quinn Novel Writing Scholarship at Curtis Brown Literary Agency. And during that 6 months course, I learned a lot of really valuable bits of information about the commercial side of publishing and also about the craft of storytelling. For example, we used to have guest sessions with established novelists, really exciting novelists of our time like Kate Hamer and Naomi Wood, one of my favorite, who wrote Mrs. Hemingway, and then Nicholas Searle. I learned a lot from them, and we had visits by literary editors like Sophie Jonathan from Picador. Again, she's a really important editor who inspired me on that day. And so I'll be sharing all those lessons with you. Shakespeare tells us that sweet are the uses of adversity, and as you like it. I really believe that. And the other most important thing is to do with self-improvement. I'm passionate about it. And I want to say something with complete sincerity here. It doesn't matter who you are. I want you to think of me as someone who had been through a lot of these difficulties and challenges. I could have given up on life so many times, but I haven't. I held on, and I managed to learn this language, and I'm at this stage where I can do certain things and tell stories that can engage people. So it doesn't matter what your dream is. You might want to be a novelist, but it could be something else. But whatever it is, I want you to think of an example of someone who can survive things and think the big dreams and go out and achieve them. And I'm going to chronicle a lot of things that I'm doing. So in a really sincere way, I want what I'm doing to be an inspiration for you. This is why this video, although a lot of it is about me, I want this to be about you. Because here is another example of another human being who has found a way to overcome a lot of obstacles to make something out of nothing. I've had a lot of help from other people, and that's the other thing that I want to do. I want to pass forward all the good things that I got and then help you in your next stage of your journey as a novelist. So if you think that I provided value to your creator's life in terms of information, inspiration, motivation, or education, please think about subscribing to my channel. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. You really do have exquisite taste.